Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Vicenzoro 2023, and on behalf of Italian Exhibition Group, I thank you for being here and visiting Vicenza and its beauty among the different shows we are having today. You probably have heard that this edition is the biggest we've never had in more or less 70 years of history. This fair was born in 1954, so we are 69 years with trade fairs about jewelry here. So next year would be our new celebration, our 70th year birthday. But this is not our priority. So being the biggest is not probably our first objective. It isn't. So what we're looking at is providing service to the community, and the biggest service we are requested is content, reliable information, education, you know, and becoming a reference point for all the industry that is gathering here with us. And talking about content, obviously one of the main content we like to provide to you is giving you some clue about the forecast, the trends, and everything that can happen in the next years. This is very relevant. It's probably the first question that I get asked every time I'm talking with a journalist, but I never answered it because I don't know much about trend. Unfortunately, I try to manage and make everything possible to have here the people that can talk about trends. And the source of trends, the authority of trends, and probably the most precious content that we are hosting here is Trendvision, which is our observatory. It's actually independent observatory because we don't enter in anything that is written on the trend book or presented here. Trendvision and forecasting, probably 21 years, that is providing here reliable information, and obviously the soul of Trendvision with Paola de Luca, that I want really to thank for her professionalism, for her energy and enthusiasm that is bringing here every year we are opening a nice Vicenzoro. Please come here, Paola. A big round of applause for Paola. Thank you so much. So,
buongiorno.
She can talk about trend. Please enjoy this moment. This is really the most precious content we are having here. And thank you again for giving some more information, reliable information for all these people from media, from the business, etc. They can have a better year ahead. Thank you, Paola.
Grazie, Marco. Grazie. Thank you for having us. Thank you. Buongiorno. Thank you for being here. And no matter how many years I've been doing this, it's always very humbling, and I'm always very nervous because I want to make sure that you leave the floor with some insight and information. Like Marco was saying, Trendvision Jewellery Forecasting is an independent observatory co-founded by me and Italian Exhibition Group, which is Vicenzoro. And the truth of the matter is, like, I'm just the one that had the dream, but the truth of the matter is information and trends are happening already in society, in the world, in the universe. And I'm lucky and blessed enough to identify antennas, people, extraordinary talent, cool hunters, editors. They are contributing with us all year round to collect informations. I'm only the traffic manager. I'm only the one that maybe had a dream like almost 30 years ago about trend forecasting, until up today some people is just asking, you know, are earrings in or not? Well, it's not just about that. It's about, you know, socio-cultural shifting. It's about environmental changes. It's about how things are happening. And it's about us, how we feel, how things are happening, and how they reflect in our, you know, sector, in the jewelry luxury sector, then is also evolving in new ways. So I'm lucky enough to have amazing talent here. And so let's get ready to rumble. Dreamscape. Dreamscape. It's about why dreaming. You know, Martin Luther King, Reverend Martin Luther King in 1963, at the very important, made the very important speech, I have a dream. And my dream since early 90s, maybe at the beginning of my career, was really to bridge the market, the commercial world with art, creativity, and being able to inspire. Because I always saw that everything is synergic. There is not really a line between our business and the streets. At that time, I was living in New York City, subcultures that I would see at night in my nightlife, they would come up in Vogue or in the big magazine a year later. And I was like, how can I connect that? How can it be possible? How can I tell the industry what people is wearing and how are we dressing and expressing ourselves? That was in the 90s. And now, in this time and age, finally, we have DTC, direct to consumer, that is really going from online digital world to talking to makers and designers, and is really in an ongoing flow. So Dreamscapes is really about escaping reality through a digital era, but also getting inspired and also expressing vision. We are at the cusp. We entered a new era of imagination. And today, I am blessed, we are all blessed that we called a bunch of extraordinary people to talk about not only their dreams and how they are doing it, but really the experts in really telling us what's happening. So, let's start with, these amazing people that they've flown from all over the world, but I want to start immediately with my first two guests that will be talking about communities and cultural movements and what's happening. Welcome on stage, Bella Neyman and J.B. Jones, New York Jewellery Week. Buongiorno.
Buongiorno.
From Lower East Side meeting when we had coffee to finally Vicenza. And thank you for being here. Let me give you the clicker.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
And before you start your amazing, journey, tell us about New York Jewellery Week, how you started. Tell us about your dream and how you started this vision.
Absolutely. Buongiorno. Thank you so much for all of you joining us here today. It's such a privilege and an honor to be here. Paola, thank you so much for inviting JB and I. As Paola mentioned, we are the co-founders of New York City Jewelry Week. We are now going into our 6th year, and this is a citywide festival for jewelry. We bring independent designers and artists straight to the consumer for 1 week of programming. We have over 100 programs that take place, both in person and now virtually as well. So you can join us from Italy, both in person and virtually. Jewelry Week shows all different types of jewelry, all genres, from historic to contemporary, as you will see, like in our presentation today. And so really it is a consumer-focused event.
Thank you. Thank you. The floor is all yours, and we look forward to hear how the world is changing, how subculture are influencing our sector, and you being in the epicenter of trends, not only in New York, but globally, and how your amazing platform is communicating all over the world.
Thank you, thank you. So with our presentation, we're actually going to take you a little bit back, well, my portion at least, to the beginning of the 20th century, and looking at art, wearable art, and the muse, right? There was no greater jewelry collector, an art collector like Peggy Guggenheim, who here you see her wearing one earring by Yves Tanguy and another earring by Alexander Calder. Sitting here in her home, actually this headboard by Alexander Calder is just, 20 minutes away from here at the Guggenheim in Venice. And Peggy Guggenheim was the perfect muse, right? All jewelers need a muse. They need a body. They need a canvas. And so Peggy Guggenheim, by wearing one earring by Alexander Calder and an earring by Yves Tanguy, took both abstract art and contemporary art and really sort of brought it to the forefront, you know, by what she was wearing, but most importantly also in the way that she chose to display her jewelry. If you see in her room, the earrings are on the back, right? All of those Calder earrings. They're in the back, right next to the headboard. So there's this relationship. And she's saying that jewelry is an art form, not only because I'm choosing to support the artists that I show in my gallery by wearing their work, but also by displaying it in my room, not in a jewelry box, by hanging it on the wall, by saying that this is just as important as a great painting or a sculpture. And this was the way that museums started to look at jewelry as well. Here we have another incredibly important artist, Man Ray, who also decided to work in jewelry. He actually collaborated with Gemma Montebello, an incredibly important Italian producer of jewelry. And what Man Ray did is he actually took a lampshade or an abat-jour that he had designed. And here you have a photograph of Catherine Deneuve sitting in his studio. And behind her is that swirly lampshade. And he took that same form and created it as a pair of earrings, essentially saying that you can take something that has no real value, right? What is this lampshade made of? It's paper, but you can make this piece using those same elements and making it an earring out of gold, for example, right? So elevating something that is so non-traditional to an art form. So jewelry is art. And then, of course, we all know Salvador Dali, right? The great surrealist artist. For him, everything that he dreamed of, everything that was in his psyche, he was able to take it and create it in three-dimensional form, right? Both into his furniture and then into his jewelry design. For him, it was incredibly important to be able to realize his dreams, to take something that exists within and make it into a reality. Essentially, like what we are discussing here with your dreams, with the Dreamscapes, right? So presenting your ideas in three-dimensional form is something that we see artists doing all the time with jewelry. And so he took these ideas and he translated it into actual pieces of jewelry, as you see here. These are some of the most iconic representations. And for Dali, his jewelry was all about ideas, right? Because it is about metamorphosis. It's about taking something and bringing it to life, but still maintaining his own vision, right? It's not just a pair of lips. It's a pair of lips inspired by the great Mae West. And it's, you know, ruby lips with teeth like pearls, or taking a telephone handle and making it into a pair of earrings, or a bleeding heart that looks like a honeycomb. But he also, it wasn't just about taking these ideas, but making sure they were executed in the finest materials, working with the finest jeweler who really was able to capture what Dali wanted to say in a piece of jewel. And this is also really important. It's something that we see, I mean, even at this show, right? Artists and jewelers who have the most incredible ideas and translating them into precious materials. And legacy is power. I mean, we talk about trends all the time, but we see this in art. This isn't a new idea, right? There's a zeitgeist. There's something that you inhale and you create it, and it becomes sort of part of your ideas. Dali's lips is something that artists like Man Ray, Claude Lalande, Noma Copley, Merritt Oppenheim, they too were part of the zeitgeist. They were able to take the same ideas that perhaps they saw in their work, the body, nature, and create it and put it forth into a piece of jewelry. And then, of course, all great artists, for them it's so important to be able to create works of art that are also commercial. They need to be able to make a living. So the great sculptor Alberto Giacometti worked with Elsa Schiaparelli. In the very beginning of his career, he made buttons for her. And she commissioned many artists like Giacometti to come and work with her to create buttons for each of her collections. Some of these pieces end up actually also being brooches, bracelets, as you see here with Alberto Giacometti, and then even objects in her salon. This lamp by Jean-Michel Franck is from an Alberto Giacometti design, and you see that in Elsa Schiaparelli's salon. So jewelry was just as important as fashion, as design, as furniture. It was a complete and total work of art. It was part of the artist's overall expression, and being able to experiment with materials and being able to think about how these pieces that, you know, objects that sort of live in a room or live in on a piece of clothing would also live on the body, taking all of this into consideration and creating really wearable works of art. And then in New York, this sort of continued. New York is where we're from, and we have the great American jeweler Sam Kramer, who was very much inspired by the surrealist and Salvador Dali. In fact, when you came into his studio, which was located in Greenwich Village on West 3rd Street, what would happen is the handle, the doorknob, was actually a hand. And so you had to shake the hand to enter into the studio. And he always said that he made fantastic jewelry for people who were slightly mad, because for him, his pieces were really all about individual expression. He was inspired by Juan Miró, by Salvador Dali, and his shop, he really felt like an alchemist. You know, you walked in as a young student shopping, you know, in Greenwich Village, and you had this opportunity to purchase a piece of jewelry directly from the person who made it. You were able to, you know, hear about their stories, hear about the process. It really is something that was so incredibly magical. And very similar to here, right? When you're able to interact directly with the jewelers and hear about what inspired them, what drove them. But how do you take something that is a dream and make it a commercial enterprise, right? So we have Francisco Rebajes, the great modernist jeweler who was also based in New York in Greenwich Village. And what he did was he started out selling his jewelry on the street. And that is something we, in New York, we hear a lot about when we work with independent jewelers who start really small and then their dream becomes a reality. So he was selling his jewelry on the street, and he was, fortunate enough that people were really excited and interested in what he was doing. And the director of the Whitney Museum in New York, back in the 1950s, saw what he was, selling, and she purchased a piece, and that really sort of put his career in motion. I mean, he went from selling on the street to having a beautiful showroom on Fifth Avenue and 38th Street. And even though he had salesmen traveling all over the country selling his pieces, there's nothing like walking into the store where the designer is there himself selling his pieces and being able to share in his dream and talk about the pieces that he is making. So we see this sort of historical beginnings that really inform contemporary jewelers.
I want to just step in. Thank you, Bella, for making this amazing introduction. But I'd like also to start connecting the viewers to, your intro presentation, because this is what's happening right now. Just to decode some of what we are trying to communicate with you. We have entered a new millennium. We are in 2023. We are facing similar socio-political shifting to the beginning of the previous century. From war, pandemic, economic crisis, industrial changes at that time. Now we've entered digital 3.0. All these changes, as a paradox, made us today entering the era of art, multimedia. And we'll see later how algorithm today, they are the new brushes of artists. So she started kind of really giving a panorama of what happened then. But now J.B. Jones is entering and creating the parallelism with something that happened then, and now it's happening here. Go.
Thank you, Paola.
You're welcome.
Yes, history is repeating itself, as it many times does, correct? And today, we see what's happening as a result of the work from home shift and interest a growing interest in virtual and digital design, the growth of Web3 and the metaverse and NFTs, and all of that is combining to create a new reality in the jewelry world. And we see that playing out in design, in materials, and in marketing. And it begs the question, a lot like Salvador Dali's work did, what is real? And when we look at these images, it's a little hard to tell if this is real or if it isn't real. And the rings here are by a young jeweler based in New York City, Hannah Jewett, who is presenting a digital idea as physical reality. And the other photo is photography manipulation by an Italian who has transplanted to New York City, Carol Chivre. And she is really leading the charge in a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about today. But as we go through this, keep in mind what is real, and is that definition changing? And we see a new generation of jewelers really bringing that to the next level. Things that we never thought could be reality are becoming so. Millie Welch, here, also known as Princess Plastic, makes jewelry inspired by the fantasy world of gamer culture and toys, and juxtapositioning that with Never Not, who is a fine jeweler, who's making this work very amorphous, candy-colored, really hitting that kidcore trend that was very popular last year. And what's really interesting, I think, when we think about this space and the juxtaposition of what I just showed you, the high and the low, is that these worlds are now blurring as well. It's not just reality and fantasy, it's that idea of what is possible between the space of so-called cheap jewelry and expensive jewelry. And this is more work by Carol Chivre. She did this social campaign here for Tory Burch, a luxury brand. And she also did this campaign for Claire's, which, if you aren't familiar, is a store of accessories based in the US inside of Walmart's. And jewelers are also embracing the personal in a much bigger way than they ever could before. This is a screenshot of a video also by a New Yorker, a brand called Dine. And it's a ring called the Lover's Gulf. And it's storytelling through jewelry, right? Which has always been a very important part of the jewelry sphere, making that very personal connection. But now it's more than just an illustration that you can take home. It's an actual artwork, right? Perhaps an NFT. This NFT here is called Cosmic Craving, which is bringing in very traditional jewelry materials. But she's not a jeweler, but we see this embracing of, art into the luxury, much like what Bella was talking about many years ago. And then in 2021, Boucheron stepped into this space and said, we got this. We're bringing a new material we'd never seen before into the fine jewelry sphere. But I will say, I think the future belongs to the young. This is Simone Farrishoe, and she is really bringing these two worlds together in a way that we've never seen before. Fantasy is becoming reality. When you buy her blockchain, it is an NFT that comes with jewelry, or perhaps you're buying the jewelry and it comes with an NFT. It really is this combination of these worlds that are making the dreamscape now a reality. That's it.
Thank you, JB, and thank you, Bella. But thank you for really connecting and anticipating what it is. Art now, like in the beginning of the previous century, has entered strongly, not only in the jewelry world, because jewelry are art, and of course our jewelers here are expressing that, but also the way the media, the way we are communicating, press, editorial, shopping, but even here, it's all about immersive reality. It's all about experience. And this is what you have introduced that is already happening, and thank you for doing so. Grazie. So now, thank you. Now, we have someone else, so another extraordinary person, then is going to come on stage with me, and this wonderful woman not only is a friend, not only she is the head of the jewelry department of European Institute of Design in Rome, but she is an incredible artist and illustrator, Barbara Brocchi, which she gives, let's say, a voice or the visual to some of the most magnificent jewelry for some of the most incredible brands in the world, she will tell us about. And it's all about storytelling and creative and visual narrative and expressing sometimes processes into incredible images. What I think she's amazing, she goes from handicraft to digital. She's already crossing organic and synthetic, manual and again, digital design. So, Barbara,
thank you very
benvenuta.
Much. Thank you very much.
That's
thank
your
you very
clicker.
much for your presentation. That is my click. I'm so honored to be here because, you know, such a good person, incredible person, and I show you something completely different because I show you my life, I show you my path, and I show you what could be happen when you have an idea in your mind, and why we speak about storytelling. So I'm a professor, international professor, because I work all over the world. I work from Korea, Mexico, Peru, China, all over. And what is important for me is to share my background, my knowledge to everyone, because one day probably they change and they replace me. So that is the more important things. What I've done in my life? A lot of things. I've done, I'm a producer for book. I'm a publisher. I have a book for children. So that is also very important for the storytelling. And I work for shoes, bags. I'm an illustrator, art director, and I'm professor, I told you before. But I'm an illustrator. What does it mean, illustration? Illustration means to put on the paper, on digital, in everything, what you have in your mind. That is the more important things. To push, to, you know, find a new way to translate your your thought in a paper, and give the opportunity to all people to understand who they are, to find their own identity. That is the more important things. So why is it important to have a journey to speak about illustration in your life and to speak about storytelling? Storytelling is a process, is a way to communicate what you have in your mind. That is very important. So my illustration journey, what is that? It started 37 years ago when I started to teach in EAD, because as Paola told you, I'm the coordinator of Jewelry Design Department in EAD Rome. And I start my journey to teach. Teaching, what does it mean, teaching? Teaching means give. I love it. I love to give to people what I have in my mind. I love to share my experience. Because storytelling is such a great experience. And you need to try to work in that incredible field to understand what does it mean. And what are you looking for over here? Here is a moment when the pencil touched the paper. And that is the great moment to find everything. That is me. What I say to everyone, that life, it doesn't matter the step you take, or the shoes that you use, but the footprint that you leave. Remember that things. Because as a professor, you need to do that. You need to push out of the boundaries, everyone, and find their own way. And here, it's a part of the thesis, because also during the 3 years in the university, they look at the beginning with the sketching and going through the end of the drawing and find the real product. So that is a storytelling. And the way to teach it is also through the drawing, through the illustration. Alici, she drew the one, she was one of my students, and I really love because you can see the sketch and you go through the real piece. What I love is try to find the storytelling in life, in all the people that I met in my life. And I try to give them something incredible that is a part of me. It's my power, it's my energy. Paola, she talked about energy. Now, Paola, for us it's very important, the things, because energy means to talk about the people, to enter inside the heart, to enter inside the soul of people. I understand what you have in front of you. Because we are psychology sometimes. So what I love, to have a connection, to make a melting pot with cultural, people, because Korea is completely different from us, Mexico, people all over, China. But what is important is to try to do a connection with the kind of people. International lecture means try to understand that you are not in your country. You are in a different country. And you need to enter with very soft foot. Never do that in another way, because they need to enter in their own life. You try to express yourself, but remember that people need to understand that you love them. That is a time to understand who you have in front of you. So why I love that? Because that is a kind also of storytelling. So here, different academy, Minas Academy, this is my family, and sharing knowledge is a good path for a professor. It's a good way to show who you are, and a good way to understand the great young generation, the new talents, the new vision, because what's happened? I believe in, in the stories. And I got my stories through my illustration. And also I believe in people, in the young generation, because that generation could be our future. Is that the reason? Here, you try to understand, you try to show what you have in your mind, and why it's so important to speak about vision with Paola. Because vision is now, but in the future, we need to give them the new stone from the future, the new bricks for the future. Here you can find sketching. Sketching, what is that? Sketching is a moment. It's the moment where you try to understand what does it mean drawing. What does it mean have the opportunity to put on the paper your idea. Here, continues to do the process, the methodology. We need to have a methodology over everything. People say, oh, I can do that. I can do drawing. It's impossible for me because I'm bad.
Barbara, I want to interrupt.
Yep.
I want to, because I know you what you do, and I want to get to the point where, important brands,
Yep.
they ask you to, like this one.
Yeah.
They're asking you to, because I know we like the process, but we want to see where, this stuff.
Yep.
And why do they ask you to do so? What is their objective? Why Bulgari or other companies, other brands, they have the urge to express and show renderings and illustrations, and how do you enable them to show the magic? Because it's all about magic, isn't it? It's not just about they can do the photography, but they ask illustration. So the illustration has a power that sometimes a photography doesn't have.
That is true. That is true. One day, Bulgari called me and they say, we want to do something different. We don't want pictures, because picture means something that you already done, but you don't have the magician of the process of working. You don't understand with the pictures what the designer thought before. It's so difficult for them sometimes to express a bozzetto. In Italian, we say bozzetto, means the first sketching. And they told me, we want a bozzetto. We want something fresh. We want something that translates on the paper the first process of working of the designer. So the empathy, the emotion, okay? So I say, okay, what do you want? We want from you watercolor. We want your watercolor, your way of express on the paper, spatial paper. No. Because that depends only in which way. Illustration is a very important, work, okay, professional work, but you need to be very strong as the beginning, especially to understand what does it mean, technical drawing. So all kind of techniques, and at the end you find your own. So they saw my techniques and they say, we want that because in that way, the customer perfectly understand the meaning of the process of working.
The journey.
Yeah,
The journey of a concept to the finished piece of the particular brand. Show us your...
Okay, so what they ask me, we need to have the opportunity to do something special. We would like to do another kind of advertisement, material, like a book. What does it mean, book? We want to do a book and send the book to the customers and give them the opportunity to understand that they are the first one to look at that incredible bozzettos. And so they understood that was the great things to do, because they understood that in that way, they gave a special gift. It's only for them, only 1,000 pieces, no more. So they decide to send, each by each, the present, the gift. So you know what's happened? One of the great jewelry collection was Festa. In Festa, they have done an emerald of, I don't know, 2.5 billion euro, something like this. And the Chinese girl, she chose from my drawing and she bought it. So that was incredible, because she arrived with the drawing to them, and they say, I want that. She bought it and she gone away. So you know what it means? That she feels it. She feels something different. She feels something that depends on the process, on the journey, on the designer journey. That was incredible. So we continue to do that. And after, we have done a lot of different collections, because I started also to do, Cinemagia, and I started to do Jenna Flower. That was a high jewelry collection for Arabian culture, because it was completely different. They try to use special pieces, because the pieces, time, it's time, I need to run, I'm so sorry.
So let me connect a little bit of what you're saying, basically. It's like we started with art, and now we are continuing with storytelling and art, and even though, can you go back to the thank you, to the sketches. So basically, a big brand or a jeweler, the need of expressing through sketching or spectacular illustration like you're able to do, they sell in a way, and it translates into art sell, because art, and meaning the conception of a creation of a jewel into and sketching it, it becomes something that goes from imagining a dream into a physical piece. And this journey, it's what the customer, the collector wants. And so that's why the storytelling of creating, and even design itself is evolving, because you are not only sketching, but now you're using digital effects to present and also communicate online what these things are about.
So the meaning is that Paola, she says something very important, because a lot of things is going to change, and they change it. Because right now we use digital. We teach also digital in the university. And digital means that, time is running up, no? Time needs people that you are continuous to be in the process of evolution. And right now illustration is kind of illustration in digital. And what we love and what we really love to do together is to use, the connection between pictures, artisanal illustration and digital, to find a new identity. And because I think that is the real goal of everyone, to be personal, to find identity. And I saw that through that kind of mixing, we can try to have a new kind of identity, because that is our future kind of life in our work. Digital is a new combination. They help you a lot, because when I grow up, nobody used it. When I finished my university, nobody used it, but right now, we have that one that gives us the opportunity to do a new kind of storytelling.
Grazie.
So, this is the last one.
Yeah.
And this is a part of my life.
Grazie, Barbara. Grazie,
Thank you very much,
Barbara,
Paola.
for your presentation. Now we're gonna have... No. Mistake. Prossimo. Wallis, come in. La scaletta should be there, and also I'd like la regia, se non vi dispiace, di tenere l'orologio sotto controllo perché si interrompe in continuazione. We are live, so we have some technical problems, so I'm sorry. La regia, se gentilmente mi mette l'orologio perché si ferma in continuazione. Grazie di cuore. Hi, darling. How are you?
How are you?
I'm happy to have you. Yes, thank you. You can kiss
Thank
me.
you.
We are corona-free for the time being. It's
Yes.
okay. You know, we can
Yeah.
kiss. Stay there because
Okay.
so we can, you know, have. Now, I am happy and honored to have you here. Wallis Hong, jewelry
Thank you.
designer, Chinese, living in Spain.
Yes.
And you are the enfant prodige of the moment. It's like you are the emerging designer, the emerging talent that, you know, everybody wants to, you know, take photograph of you, wear your magnificent pieces that you wear, and I'm wearing today. And you're representing Gen Z, you know,
Yes.
and by Gen Z is like the youngest generation, you know, right now that is actually in a ways been bringing to the table the new values, you know, gender fluidity, cultural osmosis, digital reality, heritage that gets into digital era. So tell us about you. How did you go from China to Spain, and what kind of impact had on you?
Hello, everyone. This is me. I'm Wallis Hong from China. I was born in a small, beautiful city called Huizhou. And when I was 6 years old, I grew up in a city called Wansong. And it's very beautiful in the middle of nowhere, like just in the forest with my mom, surrounded by mountains and the boats and with insects, poisonous snakes. And when I was, when I was 19 years old, I dropped school and I went to Beijing city, the capital city of Beijing. I tried to be an actor. My dream is to be a superstar. Then after a year,
Very typical of Gen Z. Everybody wants to be an actress, an actor, an
Yes.
influencer.
Yes.
That's Gen Z.
Yes.
Yes.
And after a year, I met my first love in Beijing city. Then I dropped everything again and I went to Spain. And that's how I start my jewelry journey. Yes.
That's amazing. So when you started jewelry, we can see, and that Art Nouveau
Yes.
inspired the beginning of your journey.
Yes.
And nature and the whole concept of morphing is very much rooted in your craft. Tell us about it.
Okay. I still remember my trip to Lisboa. It was a very inspiring trip. I really loved the dragonfly woman brooch that I found in my trip in the museum in Lisboa from René Lalique, and also the very beautiful windows, Art Nouveau style. And I find out that how can I incorporate something that is from the past and give it a touch of contemporary by the elements that I like. For example, water shapes that I like, and surrealism, and also by the little creature, insects, butterflies from my memories. And that's how my work, yes.
And
This
that's
is
why
the-
you came up with this. And in a
Yes.
way, we are connecting what Bella said.
Yes.
Legacy is power.
Yes.
So you got inspiration from René Lalique, but
Yes.
you didn't copy.
Yes,
You
I didn't.
you took something, an inspiration, you made it completely different. And tell us about your material, because you use titanium.
Yes.
You are pushing the boundaries. You are experimenting. So you get inspiration, but then you push it to the next level.
Yes. Actually, this is an abstract piece. It's a moth. I want it to look like abstract with a touch of contemporary art mixing with the Art Nouveau. And it looks like between a moth or a cicada. So playing a little bit with the color, and the material is with titanium. I'm using exactly the different technique to make it. It's mated under the microscope 15 times, directly scrubbed it in the titanium metal base. So directly skipped the wax modeling, and there are no machine printing, no machine helps. Yes.
So everything is one of a kind that
Yes.
you're doing. So
Yes.
still nature is at the core of your inspiration.
Yes.
So nature is a paradox because we are facing environmental crisis, climate change, and especially for young generations, sustainability and nature is at the center.
Yes.
But this is an interesting nature. It's a little bit weird, it's obscure, but also joyful. So you don't like just the obvious, you push it to the next level. And
Yes.
that's why you do these magnificent things.
Yes, these three pair of earrings are coming from the same inspiration. I was very mainly inspired by marine life creatures and nature. Also, one of the main inspiration is coming from the radiating form, because I really believe that the radiating form is the resource connect to the universe energy. Even though my inspiration is coming from the radiating form, but it looks pretty different because one is pretty much look like the conch, another one is like the feather from the bird, and the last one, which is more like with the coral. And this piece is also very happy to tell you that now it's collected by the Shenzhen Jewelry Museum in China.
Now, you know, it's very interesting. There are two things that I want to ask. One thing is the
Yes.
color of the
Yes.
metal,
Yes.
because you use colored titanium, which is galvanic titanium in this
Yes.
particular case. So you paint, basically, almost. You use metal and you paint with galvanic, but also the sizes of your pieces, no?
Yes.
They're really like, you don't need much. You need
Yes.
one piece, which is worn like as art,
Yes.
but it's also a statement. So you being, you know, Gen Z,
Yes.
tell us about your fascination about this. I mean, it's like, tell us about sizing, colors, and everything else.
Yes, sure. Actually, personally, I really like blue colors. Although that I'm always using blue color, but it's always slightly different. I really like marine life, so I wanted to give it a touch of marine life so that people can remember how is the sea, how is the sands, and I really like to play with the size because I really like the 80s style with the big earrings when you go to the events. You don't need to wear so stunning clothes, you just need to have a pair of oversized earring, like very fascinated, and that's enough for you, yes.
Like the piece that you're wearing right
Yes.
now.
Thank
So, and again, you know, other inspiration, still nature, but it's kind of looking under a microscope, like you said,
Yes.
like a scientist.
Yes.
So you are a jewelry scientist in a way, you know?
Yes.
And then you create pieces like that.
Yes, it's also very inspired by water forms, and it was coming from my childhood memory. Still remember when I was kid, when I was chasing butterflies in the field, suddenly a big butterfly flew out from the cave, and the water droplets in the butterfly's wing were reflected just like the color of gemstones. And that's how I come up with the idea, how can I make something that it's very abstract, that doesn't look like butterflies, because today we make flowers in jewelry that looks like 100% like flowers, or butterflies 100% like butterflies. I really want to make kind of jewelry that people have different connections, that you may see it as a coral, and other people may see it as a water butterfly. And this
So
is,
I like what he said, because we are changing archetypes.
Yes.
Meaning that it's a point in history where we are changing the models, the shapes, the silhouettes, meaning whatever was traditional is taken to the next level. So new archetypes in general, thanks to this explorative and experimental vision that you know, you being a young generation have. So tell us about this world. Once again, marine life, it's amazing
Yes.
that you are playing with a watch dial,
Yes.
and you are reproducing an underwater life. It's crazy. I mean, it's like, how do you
Yes.
do that?
Actually, it's my new project I'm working with my good friend who's a micro sculpture master from China. His name was Jing Huan.
Amazing.
Yes. So I have the ideas to create a micro world, like which is mini size, and with marine life creatures. And we are doing it in the titanium metal base. Is directly sculpted under the 15 times titanium. It breaks 2,000 tools just to make one watch dial. And the thickness of the watch dial is only 2 millimeters. And I really want to let people remember how beautiful is the sea and how we need to protect the marine life creatures.
So I love that we make a classic example. When we talk about Gen Z and young generation, they really care about sustainability? Are they really attracted? Are they? And then here we are, someone that is in his early 20s. Not only is extremely talented, ingenious, meticulous, and a virtuoso in developing his jewelry, but he's like nature that's the muse of his ideas, but also legacy. Yeah. And now we're getting into this. You're talking about legacy and the heritage of your culture, in this particular case, China. Yes. So you're like carved coral, which is part of your culture. Yes. But you take this inspiration to do what?
Actually, I was very inspired by thousands of years of old history of craftsmanship, traditional Chinese craftsmanship. They have many different types. Can be a jade carved, can be a lacquer, and also paper cut artwork. Also the eggshell sculpture and the woven art of bamboo. And everything seems different, but they have the same coincidence that it's like a sculpture art. And I really want to combine with jewelry and bring it a touch of contemporary, and that's how I come up with the idea with the brooch that you're watching, that I'm wearing. And because this kind of structure, it can be really light and also can be a dream look like. And I really want to play with ancient art and using the old traditions from my culture or other cultures and mixing it to bring these old traditions to let people see again and bring it into a new vitality.
I want to thank you. You know why? Because very often in the West, I have to say, I mean, in this part of the world, there is this idea that, Chinese are copying, the Westerns. And I think it's a prejudice and is a little limited in a way, because maybe for mass market, they just want to reproduce and make sure they sell quantities. But the truth of the matter is, I want to show how young generation in China, and not only because he gets inspiration from his own culture as well, René Lalique, and a global, culture. And then he takes it to the next level. Not only we are learning that young generation, they speak the same language, young generation, they have the same values all over the world, but also the desire of being unique and expressing modern time. Grazie, Wallis, for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Grazie. Now you can come. Now, I have to... Thank you. Now I will introduce you someone that is a little crazy, honestly. Ferdi. This guy, in a good way. I mean, of course, artists are a little bit off. And this guy, it's someone that uses algorithm and NFTs to express art. And not only does that, so now we are entering 3.0. But not just in theory, but let's have your first slide. Thank you. Not only in theory, but he's already doing it with the most prestigious brands, luxury brands in the world. So this is what I really want you to see, because this is not about dreaming. This is about Napoleon Hill said, wrote actually, which I'll tell you later when I have my little segment. What a mind can conceive, a man can achieve. Okay? So what we can imagine, it can be done. And so we have entered an era where escapism, it was not just surrealism from the beginning of the century. Now we are entered a new way of escaping, which is not only digitally, but physically. Now we are merging. We have entered an era of phygital. And people like him are already doing it in reality, in public spaces. And the biggest companies in the world use artists like him. Why? Because art is emotion, art is experience, because we don't need objects. We do not need, I know it's unpopular that I say that. We don't need rings. We don't need necklaces, but we do need to dream. And if a necklace makes us feel special and dream, and we enter the world, the journey of a brand, of a maker, of a designer, and we are tapped into a community that we belong, a tribe, we need that. So the objects becomes the symbology, the trophy, the aesthetic code to communicate. And now I have a talented man that travels all over the world. I can't talk to him because he's constantly elsewhere. He's in the metaverse. But he flew from Istanbul, where he's based, to tell us about his work. Grazie for being here.
Thank you, Paola. It's such a nice introduction, by the way. It's an honor for me to sharing the same stage with you. I am so excited about that. I will share our poetic journey of the studio. This is approximately 12 years journey from the beginning to end. So I would like to start with the sentences that quiet, because that quiet exactly describing our vision. According to Albert Einstein, the most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysteries. It is the source of all true art and all science. So our biggest inspiration scientist for making the art. I would like to give a couple of formal information about the studio. Then after that, I will jump to the much more deeply information about our project. So we are OUCHHH. We are a kind of the new media studio, and we won a couple of awards like a Red Dot Design Award, ADC Award, German Design Award, International Design Award, and then Asia Design Award from Los Angeles, New York, Germany, almost every continent. Last 12 years, we created more than 60 art pieces around the world for 60 cities and countries. But according to our knowledge and the practice, we're trying to integrate art, science, and technology inside of the public spaces. The team consists of very talented from AI artists, engineers, academicians, coders, new media artists, designers, and all that people seeing one vision for making public art, hybrid public arts. And by the way, the team also focus on the mind-driven approach, discovering the new technological models in the public spaces. Until now, we collaborated with the huge scientific places like CERN, NASA, Art Science Museum, Singapore, California Science, Miami Science, and also we collaborated with the different type of the governments like a Chinese government or Dubai government for making the permanent art pieces in the public spaces. And also, as Paola said, we collaborate with the very nice luxury brands like a Bulgari, Mercedes, Audi, Ferrari, Hennessy. So as you see right now, that luxury brands communication is changing, and they are really like to integrate the art purposes inside of their commercial purposes, because people doesn't like the commercial messages or something like that. They don't care about that. So people really care about the art. So they are thinking about how we can integrate art inside of the communication messages for the brands. So this is infinite possibilities, understanding behind that creation process. But I would like to tell you, we are using every type of the technology in the world. We already use the projectors, LEDs, holograms, or XR, AR, every kind of technology we already have experience. And it's very beautiful thing. We try to change the people life quality and in their life with the art purposes.
I have to stop because I get so excited when I see these things. I don't know the audience, but when I see this, to me, I want to be there. I mean, and this is what I think our industry should start embracing, because I see this in automotive, in fashion, in some top jewelers in the world, like Bulgari at the Pantheon in Rome,
Yeah.
and they created a show with music and art and jewelry, and that's amazing. So to show how exciting, why this is on, I mean, this is the wrong slide, I don't know, for some reason it's disconnected. But so art, science, and technology, I think this is amazing, honestly.
yeah.
I'm very excited about this. I'm sorry, I get passionate.
Thank you.
Isn't it great?
But I would like to give the much more deeply information about the creative process.
Please.
So according to that entire projects, actually we are using that motto approximately last 12 years. Data as a paint, algorithm as a brush, and right now AI as an artist. So
AI, artificial intelligence,
Yes.
because not everybody understands the language.
Okay.
And it's important that we decode. What is an algorithm? How does an algorithm create these effects? If you can do it in a simple matter, and what is that? How do you do it?
Okay, so I think the process is so exponential. We are using the data, but we are not data visualization studio. We are using the data for art purposes. So it means this is an exponential process in our studio. There's 3 different teams in our studio. Team 1 has a responsibility, get a data source and archived from the online. The second team has a responsibility.
What are data? What kind of data do you collect, if I may ask?
We already use the 100 different data sets archived around the world. Sometimes we use the data from the underground. Sometimes we are using the data from the art history, like Italian art history. I will share with you, by the way. Sometimes we use the data from the out of space. Sometimes we use the climate change data.
Amazing. It's magic. Magic.
Yeah, and then the thing is actually, there is a purpose. I mean, beginning of every story, beginning of every art piece, we are trying to ask the questions. As you know, artists has a responsibility asking the questions. Designers solving problems, but artists are trying to make the questions about that complex the art forms. So, according to our knowledge and according to our experience, first of all, we're trying to create the idea. Idea comes first, always. Then after that, we're trying to making happen that idea with the exist technology. But sometimes, according to our ideas, we had to hack the technology. We had to reinvent the algorithms for making happen to that idea.
Amazing.
So maybe I can also, as you know, the NFT and blockchain is so incredible technology for us, and we're trying to integrate also our creative process, and we are making the collaboration with the brands for making the NFT together in a meaningful way. So
show us your work with NFTs.
Yeah. For example,
with Audi.
Yeah, for example, this one is so meaningful, one of the most meaningful projects with the Audi. Audi invited us for making a kind of the NFT project together. There is an OMR event, like your event, but 70,000 people attended to that event. So we created a kind of live-generated data painting and sculpture project, and that art piece running with the 70,000 people behavior in real time. We gave the very special device to audience, like this, and we can observe their behaviors, buying, eating, drinking, and position. And can you imagine one person became an artist because of that art changing with the people behavior, and also as a collector, they can buy. It's amazing as an NFT, and also this is a kind of the living architectural design. We created the NFT.
Yeah.
And according to your question, how it's possible algorithm became art? So this is a very nice explanation.
Look at the process.
So
amazing.
We call it the unseen universe, that art piece name, and there's a 5 chapter. The chapter 1, you can see the people behavior as a noise. Then after that, that data becoming a kind of the different type of the
by
paint.
people moving through these kind of you know,
RFID data.
They basically, in a way, they were part of the masterpiece. They changed the environment. So it's a collective artwork.
Exactly.
And and all these sold this concept back to them for sale, I'm sure, to a limited edition NFTs, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And this money were used for what? This is interesting.
So after the 70,000 people behavior became an art, and it was the live auction, they sold out less than 15 seconds, and the approximately more than 5,000 collectors bought that art piece. Now that's priced $1.8 around million. And the meaningful way with the Audi, we founded the Ukraine refugees. Entire money goes to that people.
To Ukraine refugees. Bello, bello.
Oh, thank you, thank you. So that NFT and blockchain technology protect your arts in digital way, and also this is a new ownership for the collectors.
Yeah.
It's so meaningful. I think there is also a very nice possibility. Every jewelry can be as an NFT, you can sell as
Absolutely.
NFT, and the people really like the physical owner of that jewelry, but this the possibility, digital version of that jewelry, definitely.
But sometimes people, we are in an industry that is amazing because we do beautiful things. But I have to say that sometimes the average person, that's why we are here to educate and inspire, is like, how does it work, NFT? Why people should buy digital jewelry? Or why people should buy digital art? I want something physical in my house and not, something online. But the truth of the matter is, things are merging. It's like you having an Instagram account or a beautiful photograph, but at the same time you were there live in living that experience at that moment. Jewelry are online, and sometimes there are, through editorial work or something, you have a beautiful piece of jewelry, but then you want to own it and wear it. So the world is merging. I mean, having that piece of art, first of all, this is such a miracle, disruptional time in history that people want to get an NFTs, which is intangible, non-fungible tokens, not reproducible art, which you own through the blockchain. But at the same time, jewelry can become as such, both physically and digitally, being valued in your wallet, in your digital wallet. But that's a process, not happening suddenly. We are starting a journey. It's like when we were talking about social media 10, 15 years ago, people were saying, do we need social media? Do I need a website? Is really online business happening? Next thing you know, everybody has to do it.
Yeah.
Because if not, they're out of business. It's like not having a smartphone. If you don't have a smartphone, you cannot operate, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, you're right. Actually, this is the baby steps about the NFT.
It's baby steps.
Actually, we don't have any idea what's the comes for the next NFT. No. But this is a good possibility. Can you imagine if you're trying to organize that kind of the auction in physically, and if you're trying to getting profit, there are too many, the complex the structure for the create that event. But for this NFT, everything's runs in automatically and on the online. So easily access, you can buy.
What I love is that the big guys that you work with, they are already investing in it.
Yeah.
And that means there is business there. When Mercedes, NSC, Bulgari, Nike, Gucci are investing in it, it means money are there. And that's what my audience wants to hear. Their business people is like, so what are we doing there? Why should we do this? And now they start listening. It's like, okay, so Mercedes spending money there. Maybe I should evaluate. Maybe I should consider.
Definitely, this is the new business and new value.
Yeah.
For every brand, like you said, the Mercedes, Audi, so they are trying to selling the physical objects, but that brand also has the value. You cannot describe with the physical way. So if they can use their value also in the digital world, in the metaverse, this is another business and another profit for the brands. So this is infinite possibilities. But also, I would like to jump to a couple of more information.
Show your beautiful things, your amazing projects. We want to see them. Yes.
Sure. So, as I told you guys, we always starting with the big questions in our studio. So, when Bulgari came to us for their 10th anniversary OUCHHH, that was the collaboration with the Bulgari. So, they want to use something new, something unique for their anniversary. So before that creation, we asked that question, can AI, artificial intelligence, and our brain real-time change architectural surfaces as an AI data sculpture art piece? So for the first time, that was the event on the Pantheon in the Rome, which is the center of the Bulgari. Headquarter is there. So we collaborate with the university. We put the very special device, head of the conductor, and we could get the 6 different data from the conductor brainwaves in real time, like attention, tension, meditation.
So the conductor of the orchestra was influencing the algorithm that was actually projected in the Pantheon.
Exactly, but it's not enough for us. Also, we integrate entire Italian art history inside of that performance, architecture, the paints and everything. So I would like to show just one video about that.
Yeah.
But the good thing, interesting thing, this is the first time for the Pantheon giving to their surface to the artists for making art. After 1,000 years later.
Yeah. Amazing. Bellissimo. Thank you.
Yeah.
Amazing, amazing.
So I think thank you. Jewelry.
We have 2 more minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, my darling. Yes, my darling.
Okay, so jewelry, the sector has to be changed. For example, this is another the collaboration with the Gerard Paris. We could use the 77,000 the watch pieces for making the art, and we transform the micro world to the micro world. So it means definitely we are trying to pushing the boundaries using to the also data set from the brands. For example, we collaborated with the Mercedes.
Being a pioneer means doing.
So for the Mercedes, which is this one, we had a chance to work with their R&D team. When they created the car, they used the different type of the techniques for the designing and everything. So they shared the entire car data with us, and we used that car data becoming poetic, immersive data painting, and they used for that art piece for their world premiere. By the way, this is also first time for the Mercedes collaboration with the new media artists for making the art. And then, for sure, we are using as we talked before, different type of the data set. For example, for this artwork, we use the climate change data about the Singapore city, which is the center of the luxury brands. So we're trying to make a research. Can a city become an artist with AI and climate change data as an artist, AI data sculpture? So we transformed the entire art science museum surface with their data. I mean, the city, the changing to the entire surface with own data. So it means this become a kind of the artist on the surface of the art.
The future is now, really. I mean, the future. This is not dreaming. This is happening, and it's a little scary for people. It's like, oh my God, it's really. But that's here, and so that is showing the possibility of what could be done in any field, even in communication. What can be done in showing a company, a brand, a value, an object. And maybe in the future we're going to see chains. In the future, that seems like 20 years from now, is next year, a couple of years from now. It's like having necklaces and chain and a brand and the value of your vision expressed like that.
Definitely, definitely. So, by the way, we're trying to understand our planet problem and making highlight about that.
Yeah.
So people can take action about that.
Yeah.
But this was for the art purposes, but what if the commercial version? So we collaborate with the MSC for that, and we use the 20 different satellite data from the NASA, creating that art piece. We call the AI Art Oceans, and we created that data sculpture that was in the Doha, by the way, and at the huge
Amazing.
event. We used the entire cruise surface, and we transformed that surface as a climate change data sculpture for the Qatar Airways also. It was amazing opportunity because we can show the people what kind of the data we are integrated to that the event, and this is a meaningful way. Also, we created the NFT version and we sold out, and we founded the MSC Foundation for that project.
I have to thank you now. I have to thank you for your time. I have to, unfortunately rush you out because time is going out. But I think that what you have shown, it's really something that bridged, and is bridging the industry, the luxury sector, our industry, and the possibility, and showing that the future is now and art is part of our environment. Grazie very much. Thank you very much. Back to my other screen, because we are going to, in a way, wrap up. I want to wrap up, and I don't want to take too much of your time. I hope that, in a way, we're here to inspire you, to maybe educate or help educating you in something that we're doing in between reality and fiction, from one illusion to another. It's really about trying to make dreams like Bella started and JB, how dreams becomes realities. And then we started from the 1900s, the early, the beginning of last centuries from today. So surrealism as really a journey of our mind, and how the artists really started then. And now today's world is really kind of expressing new aesthetics that they are morphing, aesthetics that they are a little bit like, Ferdi was saying, algorithm. It's intangible that becomes tangible. We talked about digital, now we are talking about phygital, meaning physical and digital. So the world is changing, and artificial intelligence is not just going to be on the metaverse, but is going to be everyday life, like we're doing, scrolling our phone, and we are, Bluetooth is impacting. We talk to Alexa, and this is something that is implemented in our industry. So what we are really here to show you how all what is changing is already impacting from design, titanium, galvanic, and innovation, how our amazing craftsmen in Italy, but also international, are pushing the boundaries of product, creating lightweight technology, but also functional, jewelry, and also new ways of selling and creating online, showrooms. And sometime in the past was like, but do really people buy online? Yes, they do, including jewelry. And if they do, and if maybe they rather go in a Bulgari or Cartier or whatever live because it's nicer, but the experience of maybe shopping online and educating yourself and maybe having fun and playing, because the gaming world that maybe for some people is not interesting and they don't get it, but it's really happening, the entertainment level. Now, this talk, I hope was interesting. I hope, I don't know, but maybe the fact that it's more immersive, it's more entertaining, and that's where we are going. The world is going towards entertainment. The world is going through, we want to be educated, but we want to be entertained. We don't want to get bored. We are zapping from Netflix, from one series to another series. We go from one website to another one. This is Louis Vuitton, Louis exhibition 200 years, and they use 200 artists to express changes, environmental and historical changes. And what is the forecast? But the forecast is really not a forecast, it's really happening. So what's happening? Color. We have presented in September Chromaverse is translating into the universe of color. Color is moods, is expression, is emotion. And emotions are light. Color is light. And in a way, we are becoming scientists, and science merges with art, and we are expressing through color. So color is the main, let's say, a character of all this season, bright color, and the coming back of enamel. The pandemic and being, just home for 2 years has created a sense of euphoria. We want to finally leave. There is an economic euphoria. We are tired of going through a lot of changes, but at the same time, we are reaching and seeking for new civil rights. There is a war happening, actually many wars happening, not just one in Europe. There are many. We're fighting, we are looking for new joy, new ways, new values. And so metamorphing and nature itself, is inspiring, but also we are pushing the boundaries. So this is about what Dreamscape is about. It's the dream of many men, but also the dream of society today, then is reflected also in our industry. What is the future of our industry? And I was saying last night to Kyle Roderick, which is here, isn't the future now? The future is now. The future is not happening 2 years of training. We are making it now. So based on we are doing and we are conceiving today, even talking about what we talk today, it's helping to imagine the future. And even, so those are like designers that today they are developing new concepts, new ideas, that maybe the market is going to translate in more, sometimes wearable pieces, or based on the market segment, in more affordable pieces, less couture pieces, but the element, the core, the value, the philosophy, the vision is the same. We saw how a young Gen Z from China moved to Spain is exactly as the same value of any kid in Milan or New York or Sweden. So there is a big community of Gen Z, of course, and the web and the platform and the communities are showing the value and the subculture and how they're changing. Never like before, we can decode society changes. And never like before, we had the direct conversation with consumer and maker and designers, and we can create. So there are some people who live in a dream world, and there is some people who are making their reality their dream. So I end this conversation. I'd like to have everybody here on stage, all my speakers, everybody come on stage. And I want to thank you all for coming here. I hope we didn't bore you, and I hope we left you a little bit of information or knowledge or inspiration, and I hope to see you, next time in Vicenza. Maybe next time we're going to be in February in Dubai. And then we are going to, meet you next time also in September in Vicenza. Grazie for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.